You are currently the only person in this conference.
Hi, good morning, Harini. Yeah, good morning. So you can attempt, just brainstorm the two questions that I have, given because it is a very dynamic question. It can be linked to the even to the current development regarding comparative public administration. Hi, good morning. Good morning, Priya. So please just brainstorm the two questions that I have listed. Just because it is very dynamic and it can be related to the comparative public administration.
So,
Yes, Priya.
I have write one question ये जो हमने कल डिस्कस किया that is public administration is the
Okay, just
translation of politics into reality, sir. But
okay, very
I
good.
was not, yes, sir, but I was not able to right point in it. Like I have right. Can I send it to you, sir?
Yeah, you just mail me. I will put it on the screen. We'll discuss it. Just mail me.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, Harini, till the time, you can attempt the first the two questions that I. Yeah, Priya, please, have you mailed it? Yes, Harini. Have you attempted any question? Just yeah, just write only the keywords so that you can elaborate it later. Just have an idea what are the things that should come in. So I think we can discuss it. So the first question is the advent of the concept of rollback of the state since 1980s had been altering the role of public administration, but certainly not diminishing its central place in human society. Discuss. Yes, Harini, can you explain that the demand of the question and what should be written in the answer? Yes, Harini.
Here we are speaking of the LPG reforms that are taking place has resulted in, or the LPG reforms or the privatization, liberalization, globalization reforms has resulted in the pushing back of the state's functions in various PSUs and withdrawing the disinvestment schemes that are taking place in the right momentum. So about this is a question, and they said that this has actually occupied the, though we are saying that the administration role has been changed, but still its central place, that is its current place in the society, has not changed. That is like it is still playing a very important or the major role as before. So in this case, we can speak firstly about the LPG reforms that had come in 1980s and in India around 1990s, were a result of various actions that are taken place. Like there is need for the economic crisis in 1990s that had happened in India. We were forced to keep a billion in our in the Swiss bank account and had to borrow loan from IMF. At that time, we were forced to open up our economy to that of the private players and the globalized players into the market. And the entire globalization became a single ground. So the world became a common market for all. And there was a need for more vigilance to be carried out, sir, in this case. Even then, we can see there is also a need for global cooperation, coordination amongst the members. So the role of public administration has moved up towards the region, up the ladder, so that is at the global level from that of the national level. And from there, we can see that various coordination groups like the G7 Quad groups have played a very major role in carrying out the functions of both the economy as well as the need for each other's best interests. That is to serve each other's best interests and in order to bring a better vigilance amongst the various groups. And we can see this era of LPGs and the IT reforms have also changed the view of the administrators towards that of the technology. But in this case, we can say the technology became a handy tool towards the administration, and thereby it had helped in bringing up various concepts of e-governance, new public administration concepts, where we can say that more amount of administration could focus now on the policy making rather than the implementation aspects. As as we have seen that the policy making aspect of the administration was largely before the MPA period or the MPM or MPS period was in the hands of the private was in the hands of politicians, and it is also needed that a greater amount of vigilance has to be put in when we are involving the private players, and there are also an increase in the amount of crimes that can take place through all these platforms. It's like the cybersecurity that had stressed the need for legal frameworks to be created to prevent the extradition that can happen in case of a ransomware or taking care of a larger private sectors and for the protection. So laws have to be created for them. Apart from it, we should also in order to prevent competition amongst them. So in severe competition amongst them in case of the global market, we have seen, so even in the recent e-commerce act rules that had come in, made sure that the private players do not, the Matsyana principle of big fish eating the small fish doesn't happen. So in this way, the public administration plays a very important role or the central role. So, and we can also say that in order to carry out the functions of this whole of the society, it is needed that the society is being differentiated and the RIGS approach of integration is being carried out so that all the sectors of the society gets an equal weightage in their functions. So, apart from it, we can also give an example from that of the economic survey of 2021, so where it has been stated, unlike the developed nations, we have seen India has been, unlike US or UK, who spend a large amount of their economy on the regions where there are profits or the public sector's spending is in the region of profit. We can say that in India, the spending is in the region where the private sectors refuse to enter. So thereby it is creating a service bondage for that of the other players. So, and thereby we are also having various schemes like the Mudra schemes, MSMEs, thereby also attracting new players into the economy, so that they can give their best in their performance. And we are also having various boards like the Competition Commission of India, which makes sure that the competition amongst the various members in the society takes place, but in a limited manner, such that it does not prevents the big players from providing an unfair ground to that of the small players. And we can also say in the era of pandemic which we are facing, the public sectors or the public administration has started to play a much more important role than it was before, because we can say that the pandemic and unprecedented situation was new to many of the private players, when they were refusing to go ahead in their plans and ideologies, the government started putting in more amount of investments. We can see that in case of the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana or Atmanirbhar Yojana, we have seen that a large amount of our GDP has been put into investment. That is around 17% of the GDP has been put into investments, so that the pumping in of money from the government had run the whole of the GDP or the economy of that year. So in this way, we can say that we have also moved towards the era despite having our LPG reforms. And apart from it, we should also make sure that the global crisis that take place, so like that of the 2008 financial crisis that had taken place, should not affect our economy. It should be a buffer to the present economy. So in order to have a buffer, we should make sure that the forex reserves that are being present are in a nominal quantities, and we should also make sure that the export rate that we are doing is quite good enough. So to ensure these things from happening and to provide the resources, land, labor availability and the labor laws that have been modified recently are a sign that the administration is able to provide the best resources to that of the entrepreneurs, not just from thereby attracting the global market and FII and FDIs, but also that of the local market players and the private players to enter into the field. We are also having loan schemes, and we have seen that the recent MSME loan waivers that have been created. So this will help in bringing up a greater number of entrepreneurs into that of the market, existing markets. And we have also seen local state governments, apart from the central government, the local state governments like that of the Telangana government has started with the various schemes, and they started encouraging women and other members of the weaker sections of the society to enter into that of the entrepreneurships. And we have also seen that in these cases, the public administration plays a very important or the central role. And we can also say that though we are having conflicts, as Mary Parker Follett has said, it is necessary to involve the conflicting ideas, and only through those conflicts we can have the best solutions. So in this case, we can also say that if the private players are involved and their ideas have been put into place, by accepting those new ideas and technology, we ourselves are growing forwards because we are taking the best even from them. And these
can you
private
also
players,
link it to the various changes, which are various challenges that society is facing, various changes in the society, and how the administration will be, influenced or will be required to, work efficiently, so that those challenges. Yes.
Yes, sir. In case of the challenges, we can say that the economic challenges initially was that the Oxfam's report has also spoken, and we have also seen that there was expected to be a K-shaped economy, but the economic survey though has stressed on it, but we were trying to make sure it becomes a V-shaped economy. That is, once after the crisis falls, that is, once the crisis has brought down, the pandemic crisis has brought down the economy to that of the lowermost position, we will try to bounce back and rise again, sir. And we have also said this in our economic survey, that it was written that most of the loans that we have been taken, we have paid the loans back in a very timely and a most efficient manner. And we have this, despite of this, we have been given a triple B rating in the sovereign rating, so in the IMF banks, World Banks. So this has been seen that we are the fifth largest economy, and we are the fifth largest consumers in the world. So being a fifth largest, we are one of the having a good population, demographic dividends. We can provide a good amount of labor, as well as that of a labor intensive as well as a consumer intensive market for large number of global players. So this will.
So I think good you have tried to. So basically, the objective of this is, the idea of rollback. So what you were missing, out of all the things, you have covered most of the things, but from the generalistic perspective, what you missed is the thinker's perspective or the ideological. Yeah, of course, yes. Yes, Priya, you can. So I think, I will. Priya, you can go on. So it's the idea you have already captured. You have written very good answer. but it just missing was few terminology of the public administration. That's all. Otherwise, your answer would have been perfect.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Harini? Yeah, very
Yes.
nice. So, Priya, you can try it using the various terminology of the public administration.
Okay, sir. So here we can start from the Philadelphia conference, sir, that was there, in which they
Yes.
have explained that innovation has increases the hierarchy and rigidity in the administration portion. So we can't say that there is a rollback of the because of the rollback of the state, the role of the administration has increased, sir, due to the
Okay.
innovation. After the 1980s, like they are talking about after the LPG reforms, after the
Yeah.
1980s, for the balance of payment crisis that was there. So thereafter it was the coming up in case of economy, we can say the effect on the economy. In that case we can write the coming up of the FDI and FII. Government has also focused on the NPS, that is new public services, where they have explained that okay, government should focus on provide if the person not able to we can say buy the things or the services that are provided by the private players, and then it is the duty of the government to provide the services to that citizens. So we can't say that it is a totally rollback of the government, sir. So it has moreover we saw from the government to governance, but there also the duty of the government toward the citizens that are not we can say or the lower strata of the society. So the PDS system that is there, that is public distribution system, through which the government has, yes sir. After that we can talk about the Reaganism and Thatcherism, in which they has explained providing the lessons fair but and maximizing the choices to the people. But there also the people that are not able to means achieve that services, or they don't have that economic or monetary aspect to achieve that services, then it's the duty of the government to provide them, sir. After that, in case of politics or the yes, sir, polity, we can say the coming up of the innovation in the vote bank, also the coming up of the innovation in implementing the policies also. Like in that case, we can say if we are talking about the coming up of FDI, FII, so the government has also focused on the schemes such as startup, stand up, Mudra Yojana, PM Kisan Nidhi Yojana, and PM Garib Kalyan Yojana. We have the various schemes in which we can say okay, the administration plays an important role, like the implementation of the various schemes that are there by the administrator, so that there should not be a monopoly and oligopoly of the private player in the market. After that, the government, in this case, we can also talk about the Dwight Waldo, like he has also explained it should be the changes that he has explained in case of new public administration in Monobrook Conference Fund, sir. That he has explained that there should be a it should be a change. There should be a change. After that, he has explained that the social equity should be there, and after that, he has explained that it should be a client oriented and talk about the values. Earlier, it was and the three E's that we have talked about, sir. In case of the role of public administration. So in case of public role of the administration, we can put a heading of role of administration after the 1980s. So there we can say for the implementation of the policies. Thereafter, we can say the various regulatory agencies. So administrator plays an important role there also. Like
Yes.
one thing that I'm not able to recall, but he has also explained that administration is not only the executive, it will include the three pillars of the democracy, that is judiciary, legislature, and executive, thrice of them, sir. So there we can say in case of judiciary has also played an important role as an administrator that is providing service to the citizens, sir, like by giving the various.
So very nice, So all of you are able to capture them, many of the points which should come. So how how the how the aspirant should approach the question. The question is, it can be. Can you think of the question can be put in the governance paper? Can it be put in the economics paper? Is it possible? Can we put it in the essay paper, in the governance paper, in the economics paper? Also, the same questions could be put it. No, can we put it in the both the papers? Yes. So but if the question is in the economics, the answer will be bit different. They will be focusing on the economic aspect, economic model, the capability approach, the empowerment approach, the the developmental approach, the concept that the role of a state. And in the politics or in the politics, they will talk of the nature of a state, the welfareism to laissez-faire or entrepreneurial type of government. So that that idea should be dominating. But if you are talking of public administration, and we also know that public administration is interdisciplinary in nature. Okay, so first of all, whenever you are looking at the question, just try to bring out, extract any set of theoretical dimension that you can add in the answer. Okay, so for example, the concept, the question is the advent of the concept of rollback of the state. So it should immediately strike, yes, that means a state has already spreaded, it has already widened its scope of activity before 1980s. So idea of NPA should hit, the idea of welfare state should hit. That means, the 1950s and 1960s context, you can also have the linkage post, just briefly setting the tone of your answers, just in the body part. Introduction, obviously, you can introduce only with the idea of, the public choice approach, with the idea of NPM or with the idea of NPS or idea of good governance, minimum government, maximum governance. So that idea, or a government that costs less. So those are the theoretical statements which have been made in the discipline of public administration. You can begin with that. And then how you make the body part, how you show the transition from the bigger state, higher, greater role of the state in the or public administration in the welfare and developmental activities, in the regulatory functions, how the NPA has, how the post World War II situation, or the the development in the post World War II scenario, after the destruction. That means in the reconstruction program, how the role of a state or role of public administration has increased. So in the NPA, what we see, expansion, flat, inflation of the role of the state. That means there is a salvage of the role of state, greater expansion, that state or public administration has expanded its scope to almost all the activities, but it has failed. Then you have to bring out the logic of public choice approach, bring out the logic of new public management. That means how the idea of bigger state, how the idea of bigger state has failed because of inefficiency, nepotism, favoritism, corruption, lack of effective tools and techniques, lack of competition. So lack of business like approach. So the role of a state has been questioned. The state itself faced the legitimacy crisis. Okay, so you have to just briefly you have to mention the trend also, the logic also. Then we have seen under the public choice approach, we have seen how the methodological individualism or institutional pluralism, that means the multiple institutions were created. The role of a state was expected to be shrink. That means the state should withdraw itself, roll back, so that it is able to act like a entrepreneurial type of government. It is acting like a facilitator, enabler. Okay, so the idea of the various reform initiative that was taken under Reaganism and the Thatcherism, you can bring out some of those examples in while describing this change that was taking place in the role of a state or in the role of public administration at the time of 1980s and 90s. You can also talk of LPG reforms that we have initiated. So again, you have to write it from the disciplinary perspective, and then you have to show, yes, of course, the role of a state was changing. It was now becoming a regulator. There was rise of independent regulatory agencies. So there was focus on the idea that a government that costs less. Idea of budgeting system, the various new types of budgeting system that has come up, zero-based budgeting, performance budgeting. The idea of public policy, how multi-stakeholder, the idea that means rationality should be brought in the public policy making. So that there are theoretical development in the discipline as well as practical development in the field of administration. So you can talk of public choice approach reforms. You can talk of NPM reform, how the many of the public sector has been forced or they have taken up many private sector practices under the NPM reform. So you can talk of NPM. Again, you will highlight how, though at one point of time, what we see, the state was really getting rolled back. A state was withdrawing itself from the many of the domains. But soon it realized it is not possible for the state or public administration to withdraw it completely, because their society is not homogeneous. Everybody is not having all the information. Like the criticism of public choice approach. That means everybody do not have all set of information. All are not utility maximizer. All do not know the best, what is best in their interest. So all do not have the kind of education, information, level of understanding. Obviously the state will have to facilitate. A state will have to play a catalyzing role. The idea of entrepreneur government that we have discussed, how the role of a state could be envisioned as a facilitator, as a enabler, as a regulator. So there was a rise of independent regulatory agencies. And then we can briefly also mention about the double state failure that has taken place in 2008 economic crisis. Again, that has led to the rethinking of whether these independent regulatory agencies are really effective or not. So that is one aspect. You can also go on. And then we also see the Mendobu conference, which are being parallelly conducted during the 1980s. So you can talk of some of the concepts which are discussed in Mendobu conference too. That is the academic terminology that you are trying to bring in. Okay. And then you can also parallelly talk of Mendobu conference 3 in the future trends, what you discuss, the future challenges. Okay. So that aspect can also be brought in. And then you can talk of how after the realization that a state cannot withdraw itself from all the responsibility, that yes, still the public administration remains occupy the central place in human society. How? You talk about public value concept, you talk of public interest, you talk of new public service approach, which has tried to incorporate the idea from the values and the idea of social justice from the new public administration, as well as the idea from public choice and new public management. They have tried to integrate the two concepts, so that you can talk of. So that shows the public administration again, showing that it is again playing the central place in the human society. Then you can talk of good governance, you can talk of new public governance, you can talk of network governance, you can talk of digital era governance, where again many of the government and now government develop more capacity. Now a state is able to so there is also terminology like re-governmentalization in the era of digital era governance, e-governance, where a state has increased its capability in terms of monitoring, surveillance, in terms of regulating the agency, in terms of looking into the activities. So using the big data analytics, using the Internet of Things, cloud computing, all those aspects can come under digital era governance. So again, that shows the role of the state, role of the state in terms of serving both citizen as well as clients. You can talk of categorization of PSUs in terms of Mini Ratna, Navratna, Maharatna, opening up the sector for the greater competition. So you can talk under balanced approach that government is adopted. You can talk of LPG reform. The real role of the state has been redefined, altered, but not completely diminished, not removed. So obviously, a state has now become a regulator also. It has become, now you can talk of public-private partnership, where again the public administration, the government plays very significant role in terms of implementing the public-private partnership. And then you can talk of various future challenges, various trends in the contemporary time: illiteracy, problem of inequitable distribution of resources, inequality in the society, illiteracy, and the global challenges, sustainable developmental challenges. So again, the disaster management and internal security, terrorism. So all those aspects require again the very efficient and effective role of public administration. That means linking the theoretical terminology, and that that has been discussed even in the Mendobu Conference 3. So again, you are using the same idea, most of the idea that you have already discussed, but it is only the terminology which you have to bring in, which you have to add on, and then that is refinement, filtering, or looking at the question from the putting the spectacle of public administration, of the discipline of public administration, and that will be the very comprehensive answer. So are you able to get it, how to approach it, Harini and Priya? So again, the idea that for what we have discussed is the same. This is what is XP. Yeah, thank you. Priya, are you able to get it? See, logic becomes important, and PA led to expansion. Briefly, how do you mention it? how Philadelphia Conference, Mumbai Conference 1 or NPA has led to the increase in the size of state or increase in the expansion in the activities of the state. Why? Due to the post World War to reconstruction, due to the increased demand from the members of the society because of the complex society. But immediately, soon it was realized that the state was unable to fulfill its obligation. There was a lot of inefficiency, corruption, and other thing that you can highlight. Then linking it to the public choice approach, and then how the idea of privatization, idea of contracting out, idea of entrepreneurial government, idea of rollback of the state was at its peak. So 1980s witnessed a phase where there was too much negative skepticism towards the public administration. There was viewpoint against the state because of the inefficiency, because of lack of achievement, clarity in the goals, and because of the failure of the state in terms of achieving its goal. So public choice approach became a movement at that point of time in 1980s. So there was a few people protected that state will be withdrawn, now the state will be removed. So state will not have to limiting only the police function, regulatory function, let's say very function, or playing the. But soon it was realized again, you bring out the limitation of public choice approach and then linking it with the NPS, good governance, digital era governance, or new public governance. At the same time, putting at the once we have discussed the the 1980s, you also talk of Mumbai Conference 2. That is how you incorporate the disciplinary perspective into your answer. Okay, and then you can talk of Dwight Waldo, you can talk of public policy approach during of the drought. You can talk of Simon's decision making approach. Okay, how the rationality should be brought in. Okay, how you can talk of PMT thinkers, participative management thinkers, how participation of peoples become important. You can talk of 73rd and 74th Amendment. So again, the central government, the public administration will have again very important role to play. 73rd and 74th. So again, it is the administrator who will facilitate the participation of people. So again, putting all these ideas will really, will try to, will give you a very good presentation of your answer. So idea you have got, understanding is very well, and just what is need is just start using the terminology, how to, extract the terminology from the discipline and use it in the answers. So that you have to know, that brainstorming I want you to do. That's why I'm taking up some of the questions so that you are able to see that. So do you think, yes, Harini, what is your observation? Do you think, would you, if you add all these points into the answer, will it be effective? Are you able to connect it, Harini, Priya? Okay. Very good. So, okay. So can you just, briefly summarize for us, how do you approach, what is the difference between the first approach and now what, after discussing the various terms? Yeah, briefly, Harini and Priya, one by one, you can, briefly explain the same answer in a different way or different orientation. Yeah, Harini, you can briefly talk about it.
So we can first speak of in the introduction about the new public administration has a calls for the minimum governments, minimum government and maximum governance. And
no, new public administration, you can talk of expansion in the role of the state, because NPA has led to the expansion in the role of the administration, to make it more relevant. So that you can, that idea of good governance or minimum government should come in 1990. That means in that last stage. Yeah, paradigm 6 phase. Yes, that even the paradigms also you can add on. Very nice, paradigms also you can bring in. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir. And in the 1990s, we can start with the minimum government, the introduction with minimum government and maximum governance as per the
UPSC. That introduction you can go on. Very
and we can start speaking of the role of the states and the comparative role of the states in various places. And apart from it, we can also stress on the same idea of an idea of new public administration turning into new public management, giving a greater number of choice to that of the population to choose between what they need. And then we are having the principles of new public administration, where we can speak of the paradigms which are there. So we can represent each of the administrative stages in the paradigms itself. Like
Yes.
we can say that during the classical era, it was the maximum government that was present, and after that,
Yeah,
we
no, just what you can do, you can just, no need to, begin from the beginning. Just picking up the relevant paradigms. For example, this concept is
in
regarding
a
the role
group
of the
one.
state, role of the administration. You can also, you can initiate with Wilson, but you can immediately go back to the paradigm three, where public administration as a political science led to the rise of public policy approach, led to the rise of new public administration. That you can see dichotomy has been dismantled now. The role of the state and it has also further become more. That means strengthening the idea of expansion in the role of the state, and then immediately criticizing and then coming up with the solution. Again, you see the presenting, throwing the problem, limitation, and then coming up with the alternatives. So that also shows the coherence, their logic to arrive the answer. That coherence will be reflected. Our idea is to our idea is to not write the exact answer. Our idea is to understand. The main objective of discussion is to understand, are you able to bring out those theoretical dimensions, disciplinary answer perspective into the answer, because the same question can be put in the polity paper, in the governance paper, in the GS paper of three, that means economics also, even in the essay paper also. But the content will differ. And content, how do you differ? The idea will remain the same, but the way you present the idea will different. You'll be using a lot of disciplinary terminology. Terminology becomes very important, and that's how the marks will be enhanced. Okay, yeah. Really. So just structure us for the answer. A structured answer. No need to get into the details. What are the things you use? How logically you organize your idea? Okay. Yeah.
Yes, we have seen that in case of new public administration, we can speak of the group conference one, which had widened the scopes or area of the public administration by involving it with the mother science, political science, that is mother subject political science. And then we have seen that the era of second winner group conference had taken place, and where the information technology or the IT had started spreading around the world, and the use of information technology into the markets would be emphasized. Then we can say, with the help of the third winner group conference, we have seen how various comparisons had started taking place amongst the various sectors, and how to improve the private players into that of the public field. We can also speak of Daror's concepts. So here we have the concept of having the large number of choices, and to make the extra rational method of making a decision. And we are having the Simon's bounded rationality. So based on these principles, the decision making of each and every citizen has been a very important portion in bringing up various reforms and carrying out the various functions of the economic activities. So apart from it, we can utilize the PPP models for these activities that are like as in case of the roads approach. So by having extra rational method, we can also compare it with that of the existing ham entity model, or a
Yeah,
pool
that
model, or the board.
definitely you can talk in the later stage of your answer, the third part of the answer. In the first part, you are trying to briefly mention about the expansion in the role of the state, how it became inefficient. Then you are presenting the main part of the body, that is the rollback of the state and the redefined role of the state during 1980s and 90s, in terms of bringing out the context of Reaganism, Thatcherism, bringing the context of public choice approach, and then talking about the new public management reforms, LPG reforms, talk of local governance reform, and then then putting the future challenges, future trends, again, which require administration to play very important role. You can talk of definition of Mindovi Conference 3, that talks about the collective dialogue and action, the citizen centric administration. You can talk of good governance, minimum government, maximum government. Okay. Yes. Yeah, Harini, thank you so much. So very right, that means you are able to get the point that I wanted to convey. Yes, Priya, you can also briefly structure the answer based on the disciplinary perspective. Yes, Priya.
So we can start from the various conferences that were there, which act as a modus operandi, sir. And in this, we can mention the Philadelphia Conference, Minnowbrook 1 and Minnowbrook 2 conference, sir. where they have given the various ideas, or we can say in that references due to the discussion, the Dwight Waldo and the various other thinkers that were there. They come up with the new public administration, in which they have explained the various ideas, like due to the invention, the role of the rigidity of the administration, it has also increased. And thereafter the new public service, that is the role of the government toward the citizens. After that we can talk about the because of the rollback of the state and coming up of the open economy. Earlier it was closed, so thereafter the FDI, FII or FPI, or we can say the private companies that has came. So it has also due to the now we are talking about the 5P also, that is coming up of the panchayat in that. So PPP model that we have. So it has also increased the role of the administration in the uh, public domain. After that, the implementation of policies, the 73rd and 74th Amendment Act that you have talked about. After that, we can say the various regulatory coming up of the various regulatory agencies. Uh, After that, the we can say in case of the ease of doing business to the public as well as the private players that are there. That is Reaganism and Thatcherism theory that we have read. Increases maximizing the choices. Thereafter, we can say coming up the rollback of the state. That
Yeah,
is a
public
new
choice approach.
invention. Yes, sir.
That,
Public choice approach. So after that, we can say the various means in this the decision making, how it has changed. Like earlier, it in this case we can say the various thinkers that has given like Chester Bernard, Simon. In case of decision making, that is collective decision making, including the people or the civil society organizations that are there, sir.
very
After
good.
that,
Yeah, good. You are able to get. So how how will you approach the answer? So basically, once you read the question, try to bring out the various dimensions, and then try to see if any part of the syllabus, any theoretical part, can be added to the question. This exercise you have to do for all the questions of the previous year questions. Just look at the question, bring out the how do you brainstorm. The first stage of your approach to the answer writing should be, so can you bring out the thinkers? Can you bring out the various paradigm? Can you bring out the various theoretical development? And then you can link it with the various example from the paper too, whether in the development administration, law and order administration, whether in the role of the union government, state government, or local governance. Okay, so then you bring out all those aspects and write down just points, key points. Okay, and then you start writing the answer. This is how you also approach in the essay paper. So initially it will take time. I understand, initially you may not be able to, directly if you are being asked the question. So it will be difficult to incorporate the theoretical aspect. We have the tendency of writing the generalist answer from the GS perspective, because we understand the idea and we try to put it in a simple terms. So that is our attitude, our mindset or approach. So but now once you are writing the optional answer, public administration answer, so you have to think like a student of a public administration, and then looking at the question from that public administration perspective. Okay, so then definitely once you try to do this exercise for 20 to 50 questions, if you are really doing the exercise for 50 questions, definitely you will get the idea of how to use the many of the paradigms. Okay, so please do this exercise. I know try to attempt the question, and then you will see the. Okay, just let me see. I have not yet received. Why? I don't know. So it is not coming. No, no, Priya. I think I have not received it. The mail is not. It is not showing my inbox. So have you typed the same? I'm sending you again the mail ID. Just check it if it is. There is some error in the mail, or yeah, resend it on this mail ID that I have mentioned in the chat box. Just copy it and forward it. So let me see if it is coming to you or coming to me. Okay, so yes, so this is how we are going to approach the answer. Similarly, other questions, so other questions where you see this question is not directly asking you any of the public administration terminology. Still, indirectly they want you to come up with the various theoretical development, various disciplinary perspective, and that is how I wanted you to think upon this question. This is very generic question. So it is, this question can be in the society, in the politics, in the governance, in the economics. Okay. Yes. So I think we can briefly discuss of. So my idea is to make you that think of the way you have to approach the answer. So will you be able to attempt the previous question in the way I have discussed? So can you attempt and brainstorm all the question? What you can do, just you can write the question and then jot down all the points, make the mind maps, what are the terminology that you can use, and if you require you can also mail me. Okay, we'll discuss it in the class itself if time whenever time will be allowed. So we'll discuss that. So do that exercise for at least 20 questions, and you don't have to pick up only the question from the same subtopic. That means from the multiple subtopics on each subtopics which are mentioned in the syllabus, pick up one question, one or two questions from each subtopic, and put it all the theoretical perspective, putting down the key aspect, how you are going to introduce, what are the main parts which will come in the body parts, and how do you conclude it. Okay. So please, do for 10, 20, 50, up to 100 questions, and then you can easily see the benefits of, doing this exercise. It will become your habit. Automatically, by looking at the question, you will immediately start it, thinking from a disciplinary perspective. It will become very natural for you. So, initially it will be, because absorbing new things, even Harini might be knowing that in medical terminology also, once you are taking up any new idea, even there will be some discomfort. You have to move out of the discomfort zone. It will take you to think upon it. It will, let you, it will require you to, try to, look it from the, putting deliberate attempt, that is the deliberate attempt, trying to, kaise hote hain, jabardasti points ko lana. So that means you are trying to, anyhow you are trying to link up the concept. You are trying to bring the theoretical perspective. Sometimes, you may overdo it. Sometimes you may underdo it. है ना? तो कई बार ज़्यादा हो जाएगा, कई बार excessive हो जाएगा. But this exercise is really going to pay it. You will definitely benefit out of this exercise, and it will become your natural habit. Okay. So I think we can talk of comparative. Can we move to the comparative public administration briefly? If I will, yeah, I think now I have received the mail of Priya. Yeah, we can discuss that. Just a minute. Let me download it. We'll upload on the PDF. Can you send the PDF? Is it possible, Priya? Can you send it the PDF? PDF, because image it might not open in the, yeah. So maybe we'll discuss it by the time yeah, Harini, you can begin the discussion on comparative public admin. Have you read the RICS idea? You can initiate the discussion. Okay, by the time Priya, you can just make the PDF of the answer sheet and mail me, so that I will put it on the screen also, and we'll discuss at the end of the class. Okay. Yeah, Harini, we can have the discussion on comparative public administration, the RICS idea of the theory that that has been given by RICS. Okay. Yes, Harini.
So we can say that in case of Rick's idea of comparative administration, he has broadly classified it into three parts. One is the normative, one is the ideographic, and the other is the ecological, non-ecological concepts. In case of the normative empirical approach, we has one name we are having the normative empirical approach, which is based on the field study in any organization, and that is based on what is in the ground levels. And then in the ideographic and normatic approach, it is based on the structure of the organization. And the ecological and non-ecological approach, ecological is we have to look into the environment in which the organization is being placed, whether it's in the developed nation or it's in the developing country. Based on it, or it should be non-ecological or structural. From the structure, apart from the structure, we should also understand the region in which the organization is being actions. Apart from it, he has also divided the ideas based on the ideologies. So he has divided it into two types. One is the agraria and the other is the industrials. In case of the agraria environment, he has spoken that there should be all organizations that should be in ascriptive in motives. That is, they should be based on the rules and regulations rather than the achievements that have to be seen in an organization. While in case of an industry or organization, it is based on the achievements in a particular organization. And he said that in case of an agria, it will be a diffused form of environment. That is, almost all factors would exist, all the elements in the society will exist, but they will be mixed with each other. There will not be any specific differentiation or demarcation between the various organizations inside the societies. But in case of industria, we can say that it is having a specific in nature and they are differentiated. So like they have like that of a prism. When we say that light moves in, it comes out in various ridge or colors. Similar to that, we can also say that here, in case of an industrial society, there will be a differentiation, and there is a limited mobilization amongst the members in case of an agraria model, while in case of an industrial model, there will be high mobilization. So this
Yeah,
will
that
also
is, the Freaks is again going to be very interesting, very interesting thinkers. He has developed many analytical methods. So, there was quest for, there was challenge, we have already seen 1940s and 50s, there was already challenge to the discipline of public administration. So there was, criticism like there are theories in public administration, but there are no theories of public administration. Public administration has started, has rejected the principal era, rejected the dichotomy concept. Now it has brought it more closer to the politics. So, Riggs was also one of the proponent. So, he will come up with a very analytical model to analyze the ground reality, to analyze the situation in the developing countries. It will try to bring out the comparative approach to the study of public administration. He will try to look it from the comparative perspective. He will use the, various environmental factor. He will use the various terminology from the science, biology, from the physics, and like the differentiation, integration of the physics, like the concept of ecology, how the human lives are impacted by its environment. So similarly, how the organization, the public administration is going to be impacted by the surrounding, by the social setting, by the political setting, by the ecological setting. Again, this how the administration is going to be impacted by the surrounding. What is the nature of administration? Earlier it was presumed that if you are adopting the Weberian model, and that could be adopted in irrespective of time and place. So was it effective in all the countries? Do you think, was the Weberian model, was it effective in
no,
all?
sir, not in all
No.
the countries.
Yes, very correct. That means that, the country has started, facing a lot of difficulty. The Western, thinkers, they have prescribed that we have developed certain theories, just apply it. You don't have to do anything, and then certainly it will give you the result. It will make you, very efficient administration. They will really, reap the benefit. But there was no such benefit. It has added more problem than it has created the solutions. So again, there was, criticism of the, Western idea or the various models that was given by the classical thinker, or by the Weberian concept of bureaucracy, ideal type of bureaucracy. So Riggs again, one of the thinkers, analyzed what was the reason. So one of the, finding was that the system and model that was developed, that was to maintain the stability, that was to ensure predictability in the society, stability, that should be rule of law, there should be a stability. And the Western society was industrialized, they were developed already, so they needed stability. They wanted to maintain the stability in the society. So they were not change oriented, they were not reform oriented, they were not outcome oriented, they were maintaining the status quo. And the developing countries, after adopting the bureaucratic system, has developed new set of problem. It has added more problem. It has tried to preserve, ensure conservatism that was already pre-existing. It was again reinforcing the elitism, the parochial culture, the heterogeneity, polynormatism. So various terminology that Riggs has used. This is one of the most profound thinker that you have to write in all the paper, GS paper, without mentioning his name. His idea is going to be used, without using the technical terms, but you will use the idea of Riggs. You will quote in the ethics paper, you will quote it in the governance, polity, internal security, disaster management, in the social issues, and even in the essay you are going to quote them. So again, this Riggs is again going to one of the very important thinker, both from GS and from the public administration perspective. So you will see how the various model, how a thinker thinks, how the thinkers come up with the various idea, how they discuss on various issues, how they try to bring out the solutions to the problem. That means because his target was also to develop a universal model of public administration, which could be applied across the spectrum. So he'll use the ecological method, we'll use the structural function. Ecological refers to the idea that how the environment, how the surrounding is going to impact the discipline in the, or it is how it is going to impact the public administration. What are the various system and subsystem, a social factor, economic factor, political factor, how it is going to impact the public administration. For example, we have discussed about Reaganism, Thatcherism, Manmohan Singh era, or Modi era. Again, you all see how the politics is going to impact the public administration, the opinion of the state, nature of the state, role of the state. The role of public administration is going under radical transformation under various political initiatives. And then we can also see how the social system, people are educated, people are people develop certain kind of maturity. People have different type of behavior, dynamic behavior of the society, of the individual, that coming into the organization. Again, that is going to impact the social system, the kind of whether we have the caste-based discrimination or we have patriarchal society, how they are going to impact the working of administration, how the role and nature of the society, the mindset, the idea that prevails, the value system of the society, how the ethics of the society is going to impact the working of public administration, how it is going to impact the work culture of the administration, of the governance. So again, the ecological perspective becomes very important. The level of economic development, the level of the growth and development in the society, they will also, the economic system will also impact the working of public administration, because the finance is lifeblood of any organization. If you are not able to generate resources, if there is lot of deficit, lot of debt on the country, again administration will not be able to cope up the challenges. The administration system will not able to function because there is a scarcity of fund, a scarcity of institutional mechanism. So again, the economy is going to impact. And then how the law and order situation, how the internal security challenges, how the challenges of disaster management is going to make the administration completely different. Okay, so based on that, how the ecology is going to impact the administration. And for that, he has also adopted a structural functional approach. That means every institution which is created, it will have certain function. So if there is sometimes the institution become dysfunctional, and that institution is done away. That's why the planning commission has been replaced with the Niti Aayog based on the changing need of time, because we need a structure for the 21st century. We cannot still go on carry out the function of 21st century by the institution of 20th century, 19th century. So it will lead to it will lead to the incongruence, it will lead to the mismatch between the demand and supply, the requirement and the supply. And then he will come up with the ideal model of agraria to the industrial society. Then there is a transition phase, which is referred as a transitia. And then there was a lot of criticism how the Riggs will Riggs was one of the very ambitious thinker. He wanted to develop universal principle for the public administration. Despite the criticism, he never stopped. He kept on building up the idea. He kept on reforming his own idea. He started he always come up with the certain innovative models, and the idea was really very technical, very logical also, and sometimes it shown the realities of the developing countries. Especially Riggs become highly relevant for a country like India, where we have the heterogeneous society, where there is polycommunalism. That means polynormatism is there. People coming from diverse backgrounds, socio-cultural heterogeneity exists. So parallelly we have the rural area, urban area. So dichotomy exists between the urban development and rural development, how they are interrelated. We have some regions which are we talk of islands of prosperity amongst the in the midst of the ocean of poverty. So again, there are some section of society highly developed, highly matured. The regions which are highly matured, they are even surpassing the Western country in terms of that growth and development. But there are some regions which are much more backward and facing the difficulty of the challenges of the poverty, malnutrition, and they are much worse than the sub-Saharan countries. So huge heterogeneity exists in the society in terms of the status, in terms of the value system, in terms of, so again the risk is how risks has analyzed the pattern that exists in the the developing countries, in the Thailand, in the China, in the Philippines, and then he come up with the various models that we'll be discussing. Again, the idea of the dynamics of administration, we have to understand how administrative system respond to the various environmental influence on, we talk of the effective authority, the real authority, de facto authority. So though the constitution will, once you read the constitution, once you read the rules, laws, regulation, definitely anybody will be impressed by that. So do you think that if somebody from the Western countries, they are reading our constitution, reading our rules, laws, schemes, policies, will they be impressed by that or not? By the the various initiatives that government takes. I think on paper, everybody will be impressed. Yeah, Priya, do you also agree? They they will be impressed or not? The way, if they will look at the policy, schemes, rules, law, regulation on the paper, all the bureaucracy, how nicely they present all the ideas on the paper, on the in the achievement of the government. So if you look at that, so that will create a, yeah, depends upon the relation with that country. It definitely, I'm talking in a general term. Definitely, that is the one perspective. That is, of course, the Pakistan will never appreciate the Indian growth and development. Very good. Yeah, at least you are also able to bring out the diverse perspective. So that means, normally if you look at, if somebody, a neutral person, is given all the bureaucratic document, given all the reports of the ministry, given all the rules and regulations, if it is a impartial individual, not the, not the biased individual. So will they be, Priya, will they be appreciating our policy, scheme, constitution? If I'm asking, somebody having, yes, now you agree with me. That means if somebody who is very neutral, if they look at the pattern of the society, they look at the various developmental initiatives, so definitely they will be impressed. But if you look at the practice, if you look at the reality, that is completely telling a different story than what is mentioned in the official record. So that means, there is incongruence, there is lot of formalism in the country. There is lot of incongruence. That means, in the theory and the practice, we, it differs a lot. And that is what we have also mentioned in the prismatic society, in the, agraria, or in the, few society, how the single institution is performing multiple functions, how formalism exists in the society, how the polynormatism exists in the society, how there is, lack of, specialization in the few society. But in the reflexive society, in the developed society, they have very very specialized functions and different roles that are given to the various type of agencies. Okay, so again, the based on his idea, that definitely, it has contributed very significantly in terms of the disciplinary development. So it has, indeed, the idea of discipline of the public administration that we'll be discussing. So again, that is the background. You can also present the background and talk about the various theoretical contribution one by one, elaborating, linking it with the Indian society, linking with the Indian administrative setup. Yes, Harini, now you can help us travel through the journey, the theoretical dimensions that Rick have developed. Yes, Harini, please go.
And it is differentiated. There were in case of an, yes, sir, we can see that, like in case of a prism, when we are having a fused light, that is when a white light is placed, we can compare this with that of our agrarian society. So we can compare it to that of the Kautilyan eras, or before that, so during the Indus Valley civilization or the pre-Vedic period. During these ages, we can say we had an agrarian type of society where agriculture was the basis for most of the system. So during the eras before the IVC days, we can say that these were an era where we can say an absolute barter system was being carried out in case of an economic transaction. So, and especially the Indus Valley civilization had seen a greater amount of profit, because unlike the Mesopotamian civilization, unlike the other civilization, they had a good Indus Valley belt which had 7 rivers flowing through them, and this good belt had resulted in a good agriculture And due to the enough surplus resources that were present, it helped in building the cities. That is, even the Indus Valley civilization during its earlier stages would have been an agrarian society, and from their agrarian societies, we have seen so most of the even in the Mahajanapada eras, where we had seen the cities had started its development, and
Yes.
we can say that the prismatic selectivism had taken place, and the towns had grown from the surplus that had come from the city. And once the surplus had come, we can say that the surplus had made sure that the economy runs through coins, and it runs through many prized valuable goods, like that of golds. We could see that the era of Kushans in India, where a major era which had seen a greater amount of gold inflow, especially from Rome, for that of the agricultural products that were being sold from India, so like that
Very
of
correct.
cotton and clove and other pepper and other material. And the pepper itself was called as Yavana Priya because of its utilization, especially in Rome. So in this way, we have seen there were exchange of technology between various countries, and this resulted in the prismatic approach of the selectivism. And after this era, we could see that during the Mughals, where the town and the central administration has started taking a very different phase, and the invasion of during the Muslim invasions, we had seen that the entire system was being diffracted again. There were splits in inside the system as well, and this had resulted into many failures. And the failure could have occurred due to the heterogeneity within the organization. So we have seen that even during the Mughal era, there was a large number of heterogeneous systems that were present, or during the EICs, we could see a greater amount of differentiation that was present because the social classes were divided. That is,
Yes.
unlike that of the Marxist ideology of a classless society or Gandhian ideology of classless society, there were a greater difference amongst the rich and the poor. So we had seen that when the Mughals had enjoyed a great luxurious life, the nobles and the other groups had a luxury life in the city. We could see that the village administration was being continuously neglected, so, which had provided a base of raw materials for the towns. So this would result in this has also come with along with that of the power and prestige of the organizations. When the growth of the organization occurs, there is when the power of the organization rises, we have seen that there is a greater difference amongst the haves and have-nots. And there is also a formalism that had taken place during the era of Mughal administration. So we can say that they had started moving from a large number of formal administrative setups had started coming. Now, apart from the central administration that were there, we could see that there was a division of factionalism even within the Mughal Empire towards the end after the Aurangzeb era due to the weak central powers. So at that time, we had seen that was a difference in the behavior of the nobles as well. Like the Ashok Jah had moved down to Hyderabad and he started his own economy and environment, though under the name of the Mughals, but still his empire was being segregated, as we can see in case of Bengal. And this segregation could have arisen from that of the maladministration and the corruption that becomes a part and parcel of the formal administrative systems. Because of this, we could see that the Golconda had issued a farman which had allowed the EIC to establish its base even during the era of Jahangir. And that time they had started because of the farman, we can say that the greater amount of access has been given to the foreign powers, which found it easy for them to overpower that of the existing township and the industry that existed in the countries. Then we can also say this has resulted, even the differentiated economy has resulted in overlapping of the systems. That is, each function is being performed by two or more bodies. And this results in a less sympathetic behavior to that of their actions. And we can say, even in the case of the Mughal era, during the Diwali administration or the provincial administration, when it comes, there were two or more in charges that were given at the provincial levels. Due to this, we can say that the administration itself had faced a setback. because they could not control each other, and there was a fight of power between who would have a greater control. So, and then we can compare this with that of our. So he says that there is a need for. So by giving this example, he has also explained the Sala model. So that is a
Yes.
need for a rational model. He says that a bureaucracy should not overlap, because when it is overlapping, only few will get benefit, and we need a fused form of domination. So this was generally neglected by the white men, and he had once again gave the concept of cliques, that is prismatic clubbing. He has spoken that
Yes.
different members of the society, we are, it is good that they are being differentiated, given different functions, as we have seen in case of yes, the clubs plus sects, that is, they are differentiated into various groups, and the ascriptive society, the agrarian society that can exist, and apart from it, the industrial society can exist. But these societies should be clubbed to one another, they should be fused to one another to perform the functions. So
Yeah,
the
that means the
bureaucratic.
club represent the modern good association that we see in the cities, metro cities, in the developed country, and the sect, the sectional groupings, the community-based grouping, the conservative or based or the historical basis, cultural basis of associating the people. That means collect, represent the prismatic society, where you see the both the features of developed country as well as the underdeveloped country. They are coexisting, simultaneously. That is the idea. That will be many of the terminology which Riggs has used that reflects the nature of prismatic society. And that is very much related to Indian society. Yeah, you can talk of each terminology and what does it mean by that. What was changing the approach? What was his various models? So you can discuss that. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yes. So he said that if suppose the authority is being dispersed, it makes sure that each member of the authority is able to give the maximum inputs into that organization. But it is also needed that we have a central authority or the control over these spread institutions. So in this way, the de jure succumbs, then the de facto also succumbs.
Yes.
So in this way, we can say that the bureaucratic behavior would be equal to that of the administrative outputs. So if the bureaucratic behavior is in good control by the central authority, then the administration would also be in a better position. So this he has also given an, when this model was being criticized, he
Yeah,
had given an
can
other model.
can you talk of can you talk of various ecological approach and then a structural function approach, ideal model? What does it consist of? What was changed in his approach? That change from the normative to empirical, or ideographic to the normative. If you are able to use those
Yes,
terms,
sir.
yeah, you can
Yes,
mention
in
that.
case of normative to that of the empirical, it was based on his field studies. So actually, in
Okay.
that model, when Riggs had given, he had based his ideologies both on China as well as USA. So, and China, being a communist land, was majorly developed on the agricultural economy, while that of USA was on the industrial economy. So he had did a study in both the places, and he had come up with the idea that of a normative to that of the every system has to move from that of the normative to that of the empirical models. Then he has said that every system also has to move from ideographic, that is based on the ideas, to that of a rule-based organization. So as in
Yeah,
case
from
of
the one case study, from a small study to the to the larger research analysis, that should be done. Very correct.
and he had also said that ecological and non-ecological approach. So in that he has said it is needed to study on the environment in which the organization is being set up.
So
Like
what was the feature of what was the feature of agraria society and
in case of an
industrial society?
agrarian society, we could
Yeah.
see that it was majorly rather than it is on achievements, rather than it is based on, it is a self-sufficient plus an excess or the surplus is sufficient enough for the economy to run. It is not based on the industries. So the
That
industries
means
are
if you
based
are
on the
born in a elite
achievements.
family, you will be, if you are born in a ruling elites, and then definitely you are going to get the lot of extra benefit by the birth itself, not by your talent, not by your skill and achievement. So that is, that contradiction you can bring out. How the agraria society differed from the industrial society. He created a dichotomy between the agrarian society and industrial society. And then in the transition, he's talked about a transition model, transition society. So how, people getting, getting recognition by the birth itself, dynastic rule that we see in the country, or the universal principles, that is not existing in the society. So the particular state, that means they are very, agrarian, they are very diverse and very particular state, and they have a diffuse pattern. That means single institution will be performing multiple functions. There is lack of division of work. So yeah, you can talk about each of these features, and then you can mention about the features of transition society.
Yes.
Yes.
In case of an agrarian society, it has a different class and people, sir. As we are seeing even during the French Revolution, the classes of elites, the feudatories had existed in these economies. So we can take in case of the monarchical or autocratic era, there were a group of people who enjoyed the benefits, and there were those people who do not enjoy the benefits of the organizations. And this had resulted in the breaking up of the society into various groups or classes. So this had made it very difficult to control. So this was also a form of a fused light. There is no clear division of works because each one was looking into their functions.
Right.
And that of an egalitarian society, if we take in case of an industry, we have all are equal. It just depends on that how each one performs their function in order to achieve their get their achievements done.
Based
So it
on
is
your ability, skill, based on your knowledge, you will be able to achieve the, you'll achieve the, you'll be able to move up in the ladder of society. There is a lot of social mobility, but it is not present in the agrarian society. So, the occupational patterns are very diverse, there is egalitarian society, but that is not the case in the agrarian. They are backward, they are conservative, they adopt many of the traditional practices which are in contradiction with the modern practices.
Yes.
Yes.
So we can say that we can take an example. During our earlier days, what the profession that the father had did, the same profession the sons take up. So and then the profession is being carried on. So this could be an example of an agrarian model, so
Very
where
correct.
the talent is being not accepted, or they have not seen the talent in the person, but rather the profession is being given to a person based on birth. Rather than that of an egalitarian society, we can say that the society moves based on the talents. So if suppose someone is having an interest towards a field, or have a greater capacity in that talent in that aspect or the sphere, they are having a greater opportunities to exploit and utilize in that sphere. So, and we can also say that this helped in the social mobility. So that is a person from a lower rung of the society is able to rise easily in case of an industrial society to that of the higher rungs of the society. And in case of agrarian model, this movement from the society, so it's quite difficult. And this had also resulted in the American revolutions that had taken place, because we had seen that the northern portion of America during the Civil War had removed the slavery because they felt that the mobility was one of the major concepts in an industrial environment. It is very difficult to run an industry if there is a limited mobility and if we are having a complete control of any person. But in case of the southern America that was being present, it had seen that the slavery was being emphasized because they needed a large area of farm functions to be carried out by the slaves. So in this way, we can say that Abraham Lincoln, when he had removed slavery, emancipation of slavery was being given in the election propaganda. Though he had won the elections, it was very difficult for him. There was a civil war that had taken place inside America, and he had to face a difficult scenario and had to do a naval blockade in order to join the two places and emancipate slavery in both the ends. And we can say that the environment, in case of an agrarian one, is being very diffused one. So
yes.
that is
So again, so the idea that Rix has discussed in the agraria and transition and industria. So it was not able to adjust because, for example, country like Australia, which has become a developed country by, which is transformed from the based on the agriculture. So again, if you look at the many of the countries which have really transformed to the developed country. So this idea of transition model, that means from agraria to the industry, it was unilateral. It was, a lot of criticism was there. There was lack of acceptance. It was not able to completely, explain the transition that is taking place in the society. So again, this was not provided a very sufficient, mechanisms to show the, how the administration can be linked to it, how the, administration, what kind of role it has. So again, it was not a complete, comprehensive model. So again, Riggs was challenged. He was criticized publicly. Also, he was criticized that he is not able to come up with any. So many, Fords and many agencies like Fords, they have funded to the, thinkers like the comparative public administrators. So because, there were two groups, if you look at the behind, the context. So there were two groups. One was comparative political study group, and there was comparative public administrator. So they started, because we also see how the Western society, they wanted to create the influence in the, post-colonial, countries, in the non-Western countries, because the countries were being liberated, they will be getting independence. So now there was also a Cold War. So obviously, they wanted to dominate, they wanted to influence the working of the developing countries. So many agencies like Ford, they have also funded, this Riggs study. So again, you see that there is a rise of, demand for comparative study, to find out whether the Western model are applicable in the non-Western countries or not. In the developing countries, are they really able to bring out the development which is required for a, developing countries? So again, based on the criticism, and he come up with a new model. So you can talk about, those aspects. Yes, Hari.
And
You can talk of fused prismatic and diffractive society. What does it mean? What is contains? Yeah.
in case of a pre-prismatic society, sir, we have a
Yes.
fused or diffuse system, and the power was being absolute, sir. The monarch could not be questioned. We have a concept of Zulillahi, or we have the concept of yes, sir, the shadow of God, or even in case
Very
of the
correct.
Caliph, they took yes, sir, they have taken the name that they are ruling under the name of Caliph. So though only two or three of them have sent the letters like Mohammed bin Tughlaq or in case of Rosha Tughlaq, they had sent the ideologies in written format to that of the caliph. Rest of them were ruling on the behalf and they had taken up the usurp the power. So it was an absolute power in case of an agrarian society. While in case of the transition society, it becomes a more responsive form of government, sir, because we have seen that when a country or an environment is moving from agraria to that of the industria, we have seen that the system has to pass through a phase of transition. As we have seen in the post-independence period, sir, most of the functions were being carried out by the government. The government was being have to face a larger number of people, the larger number of sections, and apart from it, we had also faced the era of communal violence that had taken place in the name of partitions. And then we had seen that a large amount of yes, refugees had reached on both the ends. We had to give up a greater portion of our lands to, and we had to develop. We had also to face a larger development that was being in front of us. So we had moved to a socialistic model of economy where we had seen that first the Haradamal model was being in place. Then we had the Mahalanobis model, which had also played a very important role in bringing up a large number of heavy industries to that of India, sir, whether it be Rourkela plant or the Bhilai plant, steel plant. All these were taken up in coordination with that of the external powers like UK, US, Russia, and they were being set up so that a greater amount of industrialization can take place in a quicker era. And we had also to face an era of yes, sir, this was a need for a responsive government, and apart from the responsive government, we also need to marketize the existing systems, sir, because when a system moves from agraria or absolute power to that of the industrial power, it has to understand that they should be recognized in the markets. And for recognition in the markets, they should prove their products that they are good enough so that they are able to face that of the international market, or they are able to face at least the national markets. And in order to face the national market, there should also be an encouragement in the needs of the society, sir. and that society should be able to accept to the needs of the people. So in this way, we can say when the movement is going to that of the transition phase or the prismatic phase, it has to do polyfunctions. So that is, it is not just a single function. It cannot just focus on the agraria or the agriculture part. Neither can it fully focus on the industrial part. It should focus on the
Yes.
markets. It should focus on the economy. It should focus on the agriculture. Because if they are not in demand, if the man who's plowing the field has not need of plow, then we cannot force him to buy the plow, or we cannot give him the steel or the iron plants. So it will in
Yes.
turn fail down the existing cycle of the economy. So in this way,
So
we
you can
should.
also, you can also talk of various features of fused, prismatic, and diffracted society. So what was his model of prismatic model? What idea he discussed? What was the feature of prismatic society? In the greater details, you can talk one by one. From fused to prismatic to diffracted, one by one, you can describe each of the society. Yes.
Yes. In case of the fused society is much like that of the agrarian society, sir. In case of
Yes.
diffracted society, that is the existing socialistic model that we have seen, sir, a purely developed society, sir, where there is a failing of functionaries that are taking place. The administration has failed itself in that case, as in case of the Mughal era or during the colonial period, where we had seen the functions were being divided among the welfare functions are being divided among the largest groups, but they are not consolidated together to function together, so they are not coordinated well in the system. And from there, we have if we place an other prism, so from a diffracted light, if we place another inverted prism, we can say that the light is again getting fused together to a form of white light. So similar to this, we need to integrate the system, so that
Yes.
the diffracted members of the society, though they perform different functions, they are able to coordinate with each other and they are able to give a single light. Just like the single light, we are able to have a greater source of development that can take place. So in this way, he has given the Klex model or the Sala model, sir, in
Yes.
this process. So he
So
has said that.
Sala represent, the bureaucratic system that is followed in the developing countries, in the prismatic society. So in the so it is French term, and obviously it means, like, we read about part Sala. It's office. It represent office. It represent the power of bureaucracy or public administration. That model he has given Salacracy. He also talk of, instead of bureaucracy we have Salacracy in the case of developing or prismatic society. So, Bazaar canteen model in terms of economic terminology. So, first make a comparative analysis of fused, prismatic, and diffracted society with their important features. Can you differentiate, briefly and mention?
In case of the fused model, we have seen that it is having a greater amount of, though, yes, sir, in case of a fused model, there is a homogeneity amongst the members in the society.
Yes, very
Though
good.
there is different classes that are present, they
But,
are having the same needs. There is
yeah,
no
yeah.
higher aspirations. There is an
Yes.
absolute power that exists in the society, sir. So, in case of the transition phase, we can say that society starts to move into a polyfunctional model where
Yeah,
we
in the
can say
prismatic
that,
society. Very correct.
yes, sir. They tend to marketize their product. They tend to have a responsive governance, sir. And then we are having a diffracted model. That is, in case of a diffracted model, the functions are being so widely spread that they are split. So each function is being focused or differentiated into such small pieces that they are being spread wide across the spectrum, and thereby resulting in the formation of an inconsistence, or there is a kind of differentiation from that of the reality. The power is being more, power and prestige of the organization has been given so much importance that the organization itself splits into various groups, and this has resulted in extreme heterogeneity, and this has also resulted in the failure of the systems. And this formalism has also resulted in overlapping of one spectra with the other.
Yes, very good.
So, and this has resulted in the failure of the system. Because once the overlapping is done, there is a less sympathy towards that of the existing environment in the, or the ecology of the society, sir. And we have seen that once these have happened, they have to pass through a single prism, sir, another single prism. So this model can be integration, sir, integration model, where we have seen that most of them functions have to be integrated. So here he says that this differentiated one, though there are different members in the society, the authority is being spread. We should make sure that the overlapping doesn't take place, and even if the overlapping occurs, there should be a coordination between each members in the society so that the overlap model once again fuses in the other person, and they help in providing a single light. So in this way, he says that the formalism, though was existing, though there is a deviation in case of a diffracted society, we have also seen there would be a deviation in the behavior within the organization, and there will be more amount of corruption that takes place, and this would result in the increase in powers in one member of the society, sir. So in case of this, we should say that the diffracted model should make sure that the power is being dispersed across the members in the society, and there should also be a fusion that takes place. So in this way, the change in the bureaucratic behavior would also affect a change in the administration within the society so that they are able to perform a single function. That is, they are able to carry out all the functions in a coordinated manner, sir. For example, we are having the cabinet secretariat who helps in the coordination of various members, various departments, so that their ideologies don't clash. There is no overfunding that takes place in it. And we have also seen, so in case of bazaar canteen model, we have the market factors which play a very important role. So in case of a bazaar canteen, like if there is a canteen in a bazaar, so he has seen that it is based on two factors. One is the market where they are selling the product. If suppose there are 10 shops that are selling the same product, then the shop which is having a good price would get a better market. So, and then we have the arena factors. That is the factor, the place where the market is being set up. If suppose the market is having quite a fancy shop in the bazaar, or if it's having it is near a place that is quite well known, or if it's near the roadside, so then there will be a larger number of consumers in that location rather than the location that is placed inside the gullies or inside the bazaars. So in that case, we can say the bazaar canteen model emphasized on the market, that is both the factor as well as the arena locations, and it is also dependent on the price. So if suppose the one which is on the roadside is going to charge a very indeterminate price, then the consumers will not be attracted to that of the location. So rather they would prefer to that of a location which gives a cheaper quantity price. And it will also depend on the foreign domination. So that is, if suppose the organization is being set up, well, they are having a greater foreign dominance. They don't have the sovereignty in determining the prices or determining their location. This happened during the era of East India companies, where we had seen the colonial era had determined the prices of most of our market products, like the traders who have been there. We could say that these traders were not given any rights to determine the price. They had to they had to sell to the raw materials in a much cheaper quality, because the gold inflow into India had decreased, and they had decided no more they are going to use the gold, but rather use the taxes that are being paid by the Indians to in turn buy their own products. So it also depends on the foreign domination and the determinants, the price determinants. So if suppose in case of the bazaar canteen model, if suppose the shop in the bazaar is selling its product, but if the price control is not in its hand, rather in the hands of someone who's sitting far away, then it is very difficult for the person to understand the current scenarios or situations inside that location. So it will be very difficult, and he might keep an indeterminate price, and this would in turn result in the fall in the economy of that region. So apart from it, we also see that the bazaar canteen model also emphasizes on the economic systems versus the inequalities. When it is also dependent on the economic system. For example, during the East India Company or the colonial era, our economy was quite weak enough because there were greater amount of famines. The industries had to shift from the industrial economy. We had to move back into the rural economy. Many of the traders, the artisans were forced to go back to the villages. So the economic system itself started collapsing. So due to the collapse of the economic system, there was also increased inequalities in the society, because many of them who go back to village from the trade or the artisans or the industrial model, they cannot carry out the functions as they had did in case of the existing environment or the society of the city. So they were made to go into the forced labors. They had to work in agricultural lands. And due to this, there was a greater load on the agricultural lands, and there was also a greater demand, lesser demand, and the greater supply that had taken place at that time. So, and it will also depend on the bargaining. So, if suppose a person who is going to that of the market, that is a person who's there, is able to have change the market fees. So, as in case of the bazaar canteen model, we can say in a bazaar, if a person is able to buy a product in a much cheaper rate, if he is able to bargain and get it at a more cheaper rate, then the fee and the tax in which it is also dependent on it, because both the raw material as well as the tax cannot be compensated by any seller. So it would be very difficult. So for a person to bargain below the rate, or to go down, put down the price much lower to it. So in this way, he has said that depending on these factors, it will determine the economic growth of the country. So
Even
apart
the
from
the benefits of subsidies are enjoyed by the influencers, affluent section in case of prismatic society.
yes,
Even subsidies and other benefits that government provides.
yes, sir. And we can also say that the pressure on the prismatic society is that it should move from more exogenous system to that of a more
Yes.
from that of an endogenous system to that of more
That means
exogenous.
changes. Yes, that means changes are taking place from the exogenous changes or endogenous changes. So again, the reforms, the impact that is going to have, if you have the endogenous changes, if you have to have the exogenous, what will be its impact on the, the system of the governance in the country? Yeah.
Yes. So that is in case of less formalism, they should from that of decreased form, from more formalism to that of more heterogeneity, more overlapping, to that of a system which has less formalism, less heterogeneity, and less
Yeah.
overlapping. That is from an exogenous system to that of an endogenous system has to be also. And when we are integrating or differentiating, it should be made sure that the differentiation should not be to the extreme end, neither should the integration to be to the extreme end. So the middle path is the right way, and which
Okay.
will result in the best policies to be generated on both the sides. And
Right.
this would give the maximum benefits to
Yeah, you
both
can
the
briefly also describe the various feature of that, salacracy. Why we have salacracy instead of bureaucracy? What is salacracy? What are its features? Yes, Harin.
So it is
Sala model.
in case of bureaucracy, it is purely based on the Weberian model, where it is based on the rule-based society. So while in case of salacracy, it is a patrimonialism of the bureaucracy. So
Yes.
that is, it is a bureaucracy
Nepotism,
in which,
favoritism. Yes,
yes,
that you.
nepotism, favoritism, all these exist, and there is also more fused form where one dominates over the other. So, and there is also a situation where few will get the benefits of the society. So in this way, we can say it is one of the pre-prismatic models that exists. So, salacracy is one of the
That means
pre-prismatic
we
models.
have a unbalanced polity in the prismatic society. Unbalanced polity in which bureaucrat will dominate. Especially many times now, even look at the current debate. The system is blamed. Bureaucratic, they are more powerful. They are influencing the political setup. So that is the characteristic of a prismatic society. So very good. I think thank you so much, Harini. Very nicely, well explained many of the points. Yes, Priya, you can also briefly explain, the contribution of risks. Yeah, Priya, would you like to explain?
Okay, sir. So RIG has given a two type of models. One is agraria transitia and industria model, in which he has explained that in case of agraria, that is the agrarian society, thereafter the transition, how it has changed into industrial society. Thereafter the second model is fused prismatic and diffracted model, in which he has taken example of underdeveloped, developing and developed countries that are there. So thereafter he has explained that in case of fused prismatic model, so he has compared it with the developed countries with the developing countries as well as the underdeveloped countries. So after that, with the help of the prism, he has explained that the underdeveloped countries, how after the diffraction or they are means the formation of the developed countries. So in this case, the fused, prismatic, and diffracted, he has explained the, like in case of ascription, attainment, and achievement. In case
Very
of
good.
ascription, he has explained that it is more over, like we have read in case of the ancient era, like it hierarchy system or the patriarchal system. Like if the person has some post, then it is a hierarchy will be made in that, and his son and thereafter his son will adopt that post. So, but in case of prismatic, it is a kind of change will be there, and in case of diffracted means the totally diffraction. So there is a change, and it will be like the achievement, based on the achievement. Like we have read in case of, like it should be not a spoil system, it should be a merit based system. So in case of achievement, it is like that. After that, they have explained the particularism, selectivism, and universalism. So in
Very
this, they have explained that in case of fused or the underdeveloped countries, they have explained that they will earn the, means only a particular business will be there for the formation of a money. But in case of the prismatic, they will kind of start investing in a different type of things, so that there will be a more money. Like in case of agraria, we have see that depend totally upon the agriculture. So after that, in case of universalism, they will, means adopted any kind of business, any kind of work, and try to generate money from all the things that are there. After that, it has explained the functional diffusion. In this case, in case of fused, they have explained that there will be a amalgamation of work, means that the work that is there, they will try to combine that work. After, in case of the polyfunctionalism, so in this case, they will do their own work, and one can do, means in this case they have explained that one can do one or more work at a time. So means no overlap of work will be there. But in that case, we saw the overlapping of.
Very good. Yeah, actually, we have less time. So we have to look at your answer as. So yes, Priya, you will begin from, and tomorrow we will begin with the discussion on rigs. Just to just the context I put in, and the various terminology which are used by the rigs, that you should have the command. You should be able very familiar with the various terms which are used for agrarian society, transition, and industrial. Similarly, for the fused, prismatic, and diffracted, what is the difference? What are the idea that he has discussed? What are the example that he has given? What these two models represent? What is the main concept? Why this model was criticized? Why we have the prismatic model? Okay, what is the very feature of, because this will reflect the Indian society. It is going to be used in your all the GS paper. How polycormalism, polynormatism, heterogeneity exists in the society. The formalism that exists in the society in terms of the legal paper and the actual practice. So a lot of overlapping is taking place. There is functional diffusion. So again, and then the Sala model, that is, instead of the Weberian bureaucratic model, we have the Sala model. How, what are the features of Sala model? How do they perform? What are the, the achievement? And then we, in the economics, we have the Bazar Canteen model. So how, how the various models that he has discussed, how the, idea of differentiation and integration. Then, later on, it was also find out, most of the society are, almost all the society are prismatic society. Why he had reached to that conclusion that all the societies are prismatic? No, he talked about a problem of in the integration also. He talked about that society has led to the lot of division of the works, lot of differentiation has been done, but there is problem in terms of integration, problem in terms of coordination that you can discuss in the that's why he talked about how the there is different stage of development in the different countries. So no country can claim itself to the completely differacted. That was later on conclusion. Why he has reached to that, we'll try to discuss. Please go through that. All the terminology, try to make it familiar, and you will be using all those terms in the GS answer also. Okay, just just going through the question. Yes, what Priya has written. Just read. Just I will make you go through it. Just. So, public administration is the translation of politics into reality. Okay, translation. Okay, is a very important key terms, that citizenship, politics into reality. So, who are the thinkers who can bring out? Who are the thinkers we can talk about? Yes, Harini and Priya, both of you can write in the chat box. First of all, the thinkers. beginning with the father of public administration. Can you think of his condition? Can you bring out the context of Woodrow Wilson? Can you bring out L.D. White definition? Because it is dichotomy concept, very good. The Woodrow Wilson, the L.D. White dichotomy era, various development, and then later on you can talk about the idea of NPA, NPM, and public choice approach. Okay, so public administration, the various paradigms you can briefly discuss. You can discuss, yes, Dwight Waldo also, and the core and periphery. So basically it is about how the politics, their goals are translated into reality, how the Woodrow Wilson was very much annoyed with the kind of system that they had, the lack of focus on the study of administration. You can talk of his essay of the administration, why is referred as father of public administration. So again, how the politics, theory, and that means how the politics, the policy implementation becomes very important. How the public, it is the public administration that will translate the policy goals into the action part. Okay, so that is the crux of the question. You have to use the thinkers, various paradigms. You can talk about the various development, okay, in the administrative management. So again, the missing part was what we have written is, so you have tried to write the concept, the idea that you have mentioned, but you have to link it with the theoretical domain. Just we have done one exercise with the question that we have taken in the today. So like the changing role of society. So will you all be I think Priya, can you do it once again, the same exercise what we have done for the rollback question, and then you will yourself, you will find the difference. Try to bring out the points, and then tomorrow again we'll take up this question, and then you see, you will yourself will see the difference if you take up the paradigms, if you take up the thinkers. Okay, yeah, okay, I think sir is waiting for the next class. We'll have to conclude. Thank you so much. So we'll be meeting again tomorrow, and try to, yeah, of course, we'll be discussing in the class itself, so that you are also able to understand what are the mistakes that normally you do in while writing the answers. Okay, yeah, okay, thank you everyone. Have a great day. Yeah, thanks a lot. Revise Rick's idea and comparative person, public administration. Thank you.